Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are preparing for a manual testing interview in 2025, you are in the right place. In this video, I have handpicked some new and high value manual testing interview questions that go beyond the basics. The kind of questions interviewers are using to test your real world testing knowledge, logical thinking, and communication skills. Whether you are a fresher switching roles or brushing up for your next QA interview, make sure to watch till the end. These questions could make a big difference in your interview performance. Let's dive into it. Question 1. What's the difference between a bug, defect, error, and failure? Why it is asked? Interviewers want to see if you really understand how software issues are described and reported. Simple answer with example. A bug is basically a problem in the code, something the developer didn't intend to write, which ends up causing the software to behave incorrectly. Here is a simple example. Imagine the developer was supposed to write code that subtracts two numbers, but instead they accidentally used a plus sign. So instead of showing the result as 5 minus 2 equals 3, it shows 5 plus 2 equals 7. That's a bug. The code is wrong and it causes the software to give the wrong result. Next, what is an error? A human mistake that causes the bug. Example, typing the wrong formula in the code. Defect, a difference between what the app does and what it was supposed to do. For example, the login button is there, but it doesn't work as described in the requirements. Failure, what the end user actually experiences. Example, the app crashes when the user logs. So, in simpler words, we can say error causes a bug which leads to a defect. And when that defect shows up while using the product, it becomes a failure. Question 2. Explain traceability matrix and why it is important. The traceability matrix is very important in industries like healthcare or finance, where every requirement must be tested and verified. It's often required by regulations to prove that all requirements have been tested. Example, it's like a simple explanation. A traceability matrix is a document that links each requirement to its test case. This helps testers make sure that nothing is missed. Every feature requested by the client is tested properly. In other words, a traceability matrix is like a checklist that connects every requirement in a project to the test cases we have written for it. This way, we make sure that all features have been tested. It's especially important in areas like finance or healthcare, where skipping a test could cause big problems, and regulations require us to prove everything was covered. Question 3. What is risk based testing? Can you give a practical scenario where you used it? Why it matters? Risk based testing RBT shows that you can think critically and prioritize what is most important when time or resources are limited. Example, risk based testing means focusing your testing efforts on the features that are most likely to fail or would cause the most damage if they did. For example, if you are short on time, you would test the login functionality before testing something less critical, like changing a profile picture, because login is essential for using the app. In other words, risk based testing is all about smart prioritization. When we don't have time to test everything, we focus on the features that have the highest risk, either because they are more likely to fail or because a failure would seriously impact users. For example, testing the login page is more important than testing a minor feature like profile picture upload. If login is broken, no one can use the app. Question 4. How do you handle frequently changing requirements during testing? Why it matters. In agile or fast paced environments, requirements often change. Interviewers want to see how flexible and adaptive you are. Sample answer is I handle changing requirements by keeping my test cases modular and easy to update. I also stay in sync with the team using tools like Jira or Trello for real time communication and updates. This helps me adjust quickly without losing track of what is already being tested. In other words, in agile projects, requirements change a lot. To manage that, I keep my test cases flexible. I write them in smaller, reusable modules. I also stay connected with the team through Jira or Trello, so I know about my updates in real time. This way, I can quickly adopt without starting everything from scratch. Question 5. What is exploratory testing? How is it different from ad hoc testing? Why it matters? This shows how well you understand real world flexible testing strategies. Tip: exploratory testing is structured and goal driven. It involves planning sessions with clear testing goals, is often time limited, and includes notes or documentation. Ad hoc testing is more random. It's done without any plan or notes. In other words, exploratory testing means we explore the app with a purpose. We decide what feature we will test and for how long. We write down what we did and what we found. Ad hoc testing is just trying things out randomly without a plan or notes. Question 6. How do you decide what to automate and what to test manually? Why it matters? It shows that you understand efficiency and return on investment in QA. Sample answer: I automate tests that are stable, repetitive, and run frequently, like smoke tests or regression tests. I test new or frequently changing features manually because they need human judgment and flexibility. In other words, when deciding what to automate, I look at what is stable and repeated often, like smoke tests or regression tests. These are great for automation, but when features are new or still changing a lot, I test them manually. That way, I can catch unexpected issues quickly without wasting time updating scripts. Question 7. Can you explain negative testing and provide real life examples? Why it matters? It shows how well you understand system robustness and error handling. Sample answer: negative testing means testing how the system behaves when given invalid or unexpected input. It helps ensure the application doesn't crash and handles errors properly. Real life examples: trying to log in with a wrong username or password, uploading a .exe file in a field that only accepts .jpg, entering letters in a phone number field, etc. In other words, imagine you are on a website that only allows image uploads like .jpg files, but you try to upload a .exe file instead. That's a negative test to see how the system handles invalid input. Question 8. What is the difference between priority and severity in defect tracking? Tip: severity refers to the impact of the defect on the system's functionality. Priority refers to the urgency of fixing the defect based on business needs or deadlines. How do you report an issue that developers refuse to acknowledge? Why it matters? It tests your conflict resolution and communication skills. Answer: use data logs, reproducible steps, and tie the issue back to requirements or user impact. Why this works? Objective evidence like logs or screenshots reduces debate and strengthens your case. Reproducible steps allow developers to replicate the issue and understand it firsthand. Trying the issue to user impact or business requirements shows its relevance, even if it's technically minor. This approach reflects professional conflict resolution. You are not arguing emotionally, but presenting a structured, evidence backed case. This answer demonstrates both technical clarity and team collaboration skills, which are essential for a QA role. Question 10. What do you include in a good bug report? Answer: a clear title, detailed steps to reproduce, actual versus expected results, test environment, and supporting evidence such as screenshots or logs. Question 11. What is the difference between a test plan and a test strategy? Test plan, a detailed document specific to a particular project, outlining what to test, how, when, and by whom. Test strategy, a high level organizational or product wide approach that defines overall testing principles and objectives. Question 12. What is a test scenario versus test case versus test script? Test scenario, a high level description of what to test, for example, login functionality. Test case, a set of detailed steps to verify a specific functionality, including inputs, expected results, and conditions. Test script, a written or automated set of instructions executed to perform the test case, often using a test automation tool or framework. Question 13. What is acceptance testing and who performs it? Answer. Acceptance testing is the final phase of testing performed to ensure the software meets business requirements before it goes live. It is usually carried out by the client, end users, or product owner to confirm that the product works as expected in the real world environment. Question 14. How do you test for responsiveness on mobile and desktop apps? Answer. Use tools like Chrome DevTools Responsive Mode to simulate various screen sizes and platforms like Browser Stack or real devices to test on actual mobile and desktop environments. In other words, to test for responsiveness, I usually start with Chrome DevTools. It has a responsive mode that lets you simulate different screen sizes like mobile, tablet, and desktop. This is great for quickly checking layouts, but for more accurate results, especially for things like touch gestures or real world performance, I use tools like Browser Stack or actual devices. That way, I can see exactly how the app behaves on real Android or iOS phones, as well as different desktop browsers. This helps ensure the user experience stays consistent across all platforms. Question 15. What is state transition testing? Provide an example. Answer. State transition testing is used to test how a system behaves as it transitions from one state to another based on events or inputs. Example, in an ATM system, state 1 is card inserted, event is enter pin. State 2, pin entered, event is select withdrawal. State 3, transaction selected. That wraps up today's video on software testing concepts. For more practical QA insights, be sure to subscribe. If you are preparing for QA interviews, keep pushing. You have got this. I'll be sharing more real world examples and mock questions soon. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching and see you next time.